If you peek out into the early morning sky, you might be able to see the morning star, Venus, blazing brightly. Venus is one of Earth's closest neighbors and the second closest planet to the Sun. The second half of the 20th century saw a slew of missions to Venus, with NASA and the Soviet Union both sending probes to examine the planet. The desire to reach Venus eventually waned, and there have been few trips in the preceding 2 decades. However, NASA is planning a new expedition to Venus that will discover more about the planet than any previous mission. Hello and welcome to Z. And today we'll tackle the extraordinary question, why is NASA returning to Venus, Earth's evil twin? Do you require answers to the major questions? Then why not subscribe to Z for more videos like this one and ring the bell for more thought-provoking information. Throughout human history, Venus has been one of the most visible celestial objects. It is the third brightest object in the sky, following the Sun and the Moon. It was long known as both the morning and evening star because it appeared low in the horizon at night and dawn, leading the ancient Greeks to believe it was two independent objects. Regardless of its nickname, Venus is not a star, but rather a rocky planet with a thick, dense atmosphere. Earth's evil twin is another name for it. While Venus is similar in size and mass to Earth, it has an exceedingly hazardous atmosphere that is mostly composed of carbon dioxide. Sulfuric acid clouds give the planet a yellowish hue. While human obsession with Venus dates back to antiquity, the first significant discovery regarding its nature was in 1761. The atmosphere of Venus was discovered by Russian scientist Mikhail Lomonosov. We didn't learn anything significant about the planet until the 20th century, when the space race gained traction. In 1961, the Soviet Union's Venera 1 conducted the first flyby of Venus. In reality, it was the first spacecraft to make an interplanetary voyage. However, communication with the probe was lost prior to the flyby. NASA completed the first truly successful interplanetary trip a year later, in 1962, with the probe Mariner 2. Previously, it was thought that Venus' atmosphere obscured a vivid, tropical paradise lying deep beneath the clouds. The morning star was depicted by science fiction writers at the time as a vivid and beautiful world teeming with rainforests and dinosaurs, eerily reminiscent to an old Earth. Unfortunately for science fiction writers, Mariner 2 disproved these far-reaching portrayals, determining the planet's surface to be far hotter and inhospitable than envisaged. Many additional Venera probes were later launched by the Soviet Union. In 1965, Venera 3 became the first space probe to penetrate another planet's atmosphere and crash on its surface. Unfortunately, communication was lost before the data could be transmitted back. Venera 4 was significantly more successful in 1967, penetrating the atmosphere and relaying a slew of fascinating data back to Earth. It discovered that the atmosphere was significantly denser and hotter than expected. Both the Venera and Mariner missions continued into the following decades, with Venera 9 and 10 landing on the surface and relaying photographs of what they observed back to Earth in 1975. Both probes lasted about an hour before exploding, but they did acquire some of the first photos of a planet other than Earth. Venera 13 and 14 were the first to capture color photographs of Venus's surface in 1982. The Venera 15 and 16 orbiters completed the Venera program, charting an amazing 25% of the planet's surface. Vega 1 and Vega 2 were the last probes to reach the atmosphere in 1985. The Soviet missions carried landers and balloon explorers that floated over the surface, obtaining measurements from the middle and most active layer of the Venusian cloud system. Numerous spacecraft have flown by the second planet since the 1980s, although most of these missions did not have the primary purpose of visiting it. So far in the 21st century, there have only been 2 dedicated missions. When the ESA's Venus Express entered orbit around Venus in 2005, it conducted a thorough examination of the planet's atmosphere. It was originally supposed to run for 500 days, but it was extended several times until it went for an astonishing 9 years. As of this writing, just one active mission to Venus exists, Japan's Akatsuki probe, which has been orbiting the planet since 2015. It has 5 cameras that operate at different wavelengths and is designed to study the planet's atmospheric dynamics. Fans of Venus should not be disappointed by the lack of recent attention, since there are numerous interesting plans to study it further. India intends to launch Chandrayaan-1, an atmospheric balloon, into the planet's atmosphere. China, Russia, and the European Space Agency are all developing orbiters that are planned to launch within the next decade. NASA's Veritas and Da Vinci missions, both scheduled to launch in 2029, are arguably the most anticipated. Veritas will be an orbiting spacecraft that will map the world in the finest resolution possible. Da Vinci is another orbiter, but it will also send a probe into the atmosphere to learn more about its origins and evolution. NASA also has a bigger purpose in mind for these probes. They want to learn more about the genesis of habitable planets. The morning star is our closest neighbor, and it, too, lies in the sun's Goldilocks zone, the ideal spot where liquid water can exist on a planet's surface. For all we know, Venus could have been habitable before Earth, and the two planets could have been very similar. If this is the case, what happened to turn it into the toxic wasteland that it is today? Veritas plans to solve this question by analyzing how the planet differed from its blue sibling. Its maps will be the most detailed imaging of the globe to date, allowing for a complete study at areas of significant geological activity, such as volcano eruptions. Da Vinci's atmospheric probe will get up close and personal with the surface as it drifts down and landings in an area known as Alpha Regio. Such ancient highland zones may hold the key to understanding Venus' previous evolution. Together, the two missions could provide a completely new picture of Earth's history. Learning about this past will help us comprehend how planets evolve in the context of the universe as a whole. We may use this knowledge about the circumstances required for habitable planets to form in our hunt for life outside our solar system. We've discovered almost 5,000 exoplanets so far. Knowing a lot about Venus will help us figure out which of these exoplanets are the best contenders for life. In terms of age, size, and composition, Venus may be Earth's sister planet. However, it long since deviated onto a quite different course. These planned missions give us optimism that we will one day understand why Earth and Venus diverged, which will help us decide what to look for in our hunt for life outside the solar system. What do you think Venus's future holds? Will we become more or less engaged in this awful world? Can mankind ever expect to lay foot on the planet? In the past, numerous ambitious and weird plans for prospective crewed expeditions have been proposed, including a speculated endeavor to establish outposts high in Venus's atmosphere, above its dense and deadly clouds. What will never change is that Venus will never be naturally hospitable to mankind. There is simply no prospect for survival as long as humans are like us and the planet is as it is. However, for NASA and the like, this is certainly even more cause to examine this world deeper. Given the possibility that Earth will suffer a similar fate to Venus in the distant future, it's certainly worth getting to know this place rather than ignoring it. For the time being, Venus is unlikely to challenge Mars for our affections anytime soon. All eyes are on Mars, primarily because it appears to offer the most plausible path for humans to visit another planet. And who knows how far we might be able to travel across the solar system and space from there. But, if nothing else, Venus may yet establish itself as a cautionary story for us all to learn about and from. It's this planet's evil twin for a reason, and it's not going away. And it is for this reason that NASA is returning to Venus. What are your thoughts? Is there anything we left out? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date on our latest content.